All right, so one of the problems you find a lot of houses is, and I've seen this more than once, is I've seen a lot of houses where they have peeling fascia because the roof wasn't done right. And as a painter, if you want to prevent somebody having to call you back, even though it's not your fault, and lawsuits and all that other stuff, it's really good idea to check the roof to make sure that they did this procedure the right way. And this applies to comp shingle, to tile roofs, and to a lot of other types of roofing. The one thing you want to look for is make sure it has a drip edge, and if the drip edge is up against the fascia like this, that's not good. Okay, it should be, it should have this little drip edge. The very edge should be away from the fascia, so that the water actually, when it comes down the drip edge, drips off here and goes to the ground versus down your wood. That's what causes part of the reason the paint peels. Another reason, and this is way more common, is when they have a drip edge, the paper is on this portion of the roof. We'll get down here so I can show you. When you have a roof that's like this is your rake going up here. On this portion of the roof, the paper should be on top of the flashing. And I actually had a house where the lady had the paper on top of the flashing and they didn't have a flashing on it, and it was cut in the middle, and the water, it was a tile roof, and the water was coming up, going down the fascia, causing her paint to peel. We had to call the roofer out to have it redone. Because she's like, I just had this painted like 2 years ago and it's peeling already. The guys didn't do it right. That's what she said. The painters didn't do it right. See, we get blamed. So you need to know your stuff to prevent this from happening to you. And I knew right away. I said, hey, your roof's bad. She goes, what? My roof's brand new. I said, no, it's not done right. And I showed her. They called the roofers out. The roofers came out and redid it for free. See how this is? The paper's underneath the, on top of the flashing here, and on the rake, it's typically underneath the flashing on the rake side. That doesn't matter for peeling paint, but what that's for is because if there's high winds, some of you guys in the high wind district, that's what they require it to be underneath on the sides to make it a little bit stronger. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with peeling. It won't peel if it's on top, on the sides. Okay, so we don't need to, as painters, we don't need to really worry about that. So, but I've actually seen it where they didn't have a metal flashing and they had paper nailed right at the top of the fascia, and there was that little bit, and when they first built the house, they had paint on that very edge because they painted the fascia before the roof went on. So the first paint job lasted no problem. But when they got it repainted, because it didn't have a flashing still, 5 years later, the paint peeled right off. And then she called me to do an estimate to repaint it. And I said, no. I said, I can't paint it yet. She goes, why? I said, the fascia boards are full of water. She goes, what do you mean? What's happening? She had enamel on the fascia. They had paper up to halfway across the fascia board and exposed wood that much. And you might say, well, that was a tile roof. The paper is typically your moisture barrier. That's your final moisture barrier. If the paper's not in the right place, you're going to have water going on the top of your fascia, going down inside of it. And especially if you have enamel paint on there, the enamel's going to seal it flat, will actually help release some of that moisture. That's why I always use flat on an old cracked fascia board. I tell people, no, you're better off putting flat on there because at least it'll release the water, and it won't just, if it's not completely sealed up, it'll still hold up over a long period of time. But if it's enamel and it's not completely sealed up, then it'll become like the water will get inside the wood and it'll actually start to just pop off in sheets. So anyway, that's a little pointer there to get your fascia board to last a little bit longer, become a little bit better with your customers as far as knowledge. All right, so I'll talk to you in the next video.